live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Folks, do you agree with me? These people running our country or trying to run our country are just thumbing their nose at us. I mean, Trudeau and his gang, they don't give a sweet flying fox fart about our soaring tax burden. I mean, they're going to add more carbon tax very soon. They don't care about the staggering debt, which of course our children and grandchildren will have to pay, grandchildren to great-grandchildren. They're laughing at us when our grocery bills stagger us. $28 for a pound of tenderloin steak. Just the other day, unbelievable. Let's be honest. Trudeau and his bobblehead followers, I mean, these are really fat cats, okay? The elitists. They don't know what most of us go through. I mean, they've got endless expense accounts. They've probably got salaries indexed, so they don't care where the cost of living goes. Excuse me, indexed salaries. Endless benefits. Fat cat bank accounts probably put there by daddy or mommy or granddaddy, whatever. What does somebody, honest to God, what does somebody like Justin Trudeau know about people who've got to line up at Money Mart on a Friday afternoon to borrow a few dollars so that they can pay the heating bill? What do you think Trudeau understands anything about that? We've seen plenty of evidence in the past about this callous disregard for the average working stiff, forced to plunge deeper and deeper into debt just to pay his or her taxes. But you know something? Excuse me. This latest insult, and it is an insult, this latest thumbing of their nose at us, at taxpayers, is surely the last straw, or it bloody well should be the last straw. Of course, with Trudeau, I mean, he can do anything. Nobody seems to care. I am referring to the millions, yes, millions of your tax dollars that we beleaguered taxpayers are being billed for a wonderful all-expense-paid tour to Rome and Glasgow, Scotland, by 277. 277 airfares. How many of those were first class? Oh, you can be sure a good many of them. Plus the Prime Minister's private jet, of course. 277 very expensive rooms booked in expensive hotels. 277 people soaking up fine wine and, tenderloin steak, which, of course, are all paid. All the bills are paid by you and I. We can't afford tenderloin steak here in Ottawa at $28 a pop. At least I can't. Maybe you can. But I suspect most of you can't. But how many of those 277 do you think are stinting themselves? Or are they ordering up fine wine? What, $100, $200, $300 a bottle for fine wine? Of course not. You're in Rome. You got to have fine wine, right? You got to have the very best steak. How much do you think all of this cost us? 277 jet fares return, many of them first class, private jet by the Prime Minister. How many jets? I must tell you, folks, I have been trying since yesterday afternoon everywhere. Some of my sources, nobody will tell me how many jets were involved. How many jets did we load down with 277 useless people? Because there's no need to send them. What would 277 people do in Rome and Glasgow? Well, aside from staying in expensive hotels, probably took in some expensive shows, expensive food, Let me ask you this. Remember a few years ago, poor conservative woman lost her job, reputation dragged through the mud. You know, there were figuratively, not literally, but figuratively stoning her to death because she ordered a $16 glass of wine at a London hotel. Well, I'm going to tell you, folks, I'll bet you that there were hundreds and hundreds of $16 glasses of orange juice and far more expensive than $16 sold to those 277. I mean, come on. You're on a junket. The prime minister, you're a friend of the prime minister. I don't know what you've been doing, polishing his shoes, catching his farts. I'm not sure what you've been doing, but somehow or other, you 277, including, by the way, private citizen Catherine McKenna. She didn't run again. She's not an MP now, so she's over there too. You and I paid her expenses. I called her Climate Barbie on the Rob Snow show today. He was a little upset at me, but you know something? I had some. I always have respect for the position, but she's not in the position anymore. And anybody that takes a free trip, I mean, very clearly, Catherine McKenna doesn't need my money. She doesn't need your money. If she wants to go to Rome, she can bloody well pay for it herself. What do you think her pension is? You can only dream about it. And all the what other, I don't know. So there we are, 277 people. You and me, with all of the bills and burdens we have, we're paying the whole thing. Why 200? Obviously, as I say, good friends of the prime minister. So what's he do? Pick up the phone. Hey, Bill. Hey, Joan. How'd you like to join me? I got a lovely little trip going over to Rome. How'd you like to go to Rome? Yeah, no. We'll pay the whole thing. In other words, the taxpayers will pay the whole thing. No expenses. No. Okay, what time will the limo pick you up? No, we'll have a limo pick you up, take you to the airport. Sure. Yeah. Oh no, you want first class? Well, of course. Yeah, it's a long flight. First class, no problem. No, pas problem, says Justin Trudeau. It's our money. What an insult to the poor working man and woman. You know, told to turn down. We're told to turn down the thermostat a degree or two. Save energy. Okay, save the planet. Meantime, zoom, 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 zoom. Jet planes, jet trails, everything else, all over the 270. Can I tell you something? Canada, I mean, last time I checked, Canada produces 1.6% of all of the world's CO2 emissions. 1.6%. But we had the largest delegation of any nation on earth at that summit. The United States, last time I checked, their population is about 10 times ours. How many did they send? 133. So we sent more than double the number that the Americans sent, even though the Americans have a population 10 times greater than us. Why? Because Trudeau and his whatever, I have to watch myself. They don't give a damn about us. They're fat cats. They've been raised fat cats. Everything's ever been given to them. They never had to work a day in their bloody lives. And he's still not working. When's Parliament going back into session? Another month or so, Never did a job in their lives, for God's sake. But no problem. We'll take 277. The taxpayers will pay for it. I have to point something out. Any damn fool knows that the interest rates are on the rise, okay? They're going up very shortly. In some cases, already begun to go up. Do you know today, and I've announced this before, that today, interest payments on the national debt combined with provincial debts, the total interest payments on federal and provincial debts in this country now is about $50 billion a year. With interest rates going up by tomorrow, or certainly with the next month or two, we will be paying over $1 billion every single week in interest payments. Money taken from you who can't afford $28 steaks will take money from you. You single mother out there struggling at 3 different jobs, you making $15 an hour at Tim Hortons, trying to put food on the table. We will take money from you in interest to pay to the banks, to give to the banks, the insurance companies, giant companies, and people rich enough to loan money to government. Who pays for the interest? You do. $1 billion a week. That's very soon what it's going to be. Don't, you know what, folks? Those figures are all available for everybody. Don't take my word for it. Do some work yourself. It's your country. It's your money. It's the government that you elected. See what they're doing. And then on top of everything else, they fly 277 useless bodies. I'm not saying that the people are useless, but they were useless over there. What did they do? I mean, what did we get from that? Well, the only announcement that I see of any consequence is Trudeau announces that he's very slowly going to strangle Alberta's oil and gas and Saskatchewan's oil and gas industry. He says he's going to put a cap on oil and gas emissions. In other words, he's going to very slowly, maybe not that slowly, shut her down. I mean, we've known all along he wants to do that. He said that. So it's the number one industry in this country. It always has been. It's the number one provider of welfare money, healthcare money, education money, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to shut it down. And we produce 1.6%. But, you know, in all of this, all these are not, and you know what? All like the Green Party, oh, that's great. You know, he's going to shut down oil and gas. No, he's not. He's going to shut down Alberta and Saskatchewan. But, I mean, we still have to have oil and gas. So where are we going to get it from? Well, we're going to get it from the United States. We're going to get it from Saudi Arabia. We're going to get it from Russia. And by the way, Mr. Prime Minister, sir, Mr. Fat Cat, sir, you say that you're going to put a cap on emissions from Canadian oil. Are you going to put a cap on emissions from Saudi Arabian oil? Are you going to put a cap on emissions from American oil? I mean, if we just replace Alberta oil with Saudi Arabian oil, how does that help the world's economy? How does that help the world's environment? And what are we going to, and if we don't have oil and gas, which, by the way, not only is used to power our vehicles and our industries, but it's also used to make many of the medicines that we have and virtually everything else. I mean, I'm looking around here. Half the stuff in my office here is obviously produced from oil. So what are we going to replace this with? Well, let me just tell you, folks, they told us in Ontario, this was Kathleen Wynne and Dalton McGuinty. Remember him? Little sleaze bucket. They were going to revolutionize the whole energy industry, wind and solar. Okay, I checked wind and solar. It's a beautiful sunny day, gorgeous. I'm going to take my little walker and go out to the deck for a little while. Nice and sunny day. So how much is wind and solar producing today, folks? Once again, don't take my word for it. Do your work. IESO.ca. Really easy. 3 letters. You don't have to put www. Just put IESO.ca. See for yourself. At 1 o'clock, wind and solar combined, we're producing, where are we here? We're producing 6.2%. Solar less than 2% on a bright sunny day. Billions and billions and billions and billions of money sucked out of your pocket to pay for wind and solar. And today, on a nice breezy sunny day, 6.2%. Where are we going to get the other, like, 90%? Are we going to? I don't know. Because you know what? We can install, as I've said this before, till I'm sure you're sick of it, we could install 100 million windmills. We could install 500 million solar panels. And I have news for you, folks. If the wind don't blow, you ain't got no power. If the sun don't shine, you ain't got no power. 100 million, 400 million, 500 million windmills. Windmill in every backyard, a windmill in every garage, a windmill over every house. The wind doesn't blow, there's no power. What are you going to do? Well, we don't need power today. It's only 40 below zero. I don't know. Any comments? Any comments come in yet on any of this?
Probably the most comments we've had on a Lowell Green broadcast today.
Fire away, my boy. Fire away.
Are you sitting comfortably, Lowell? Because here we go. All right. From Tom, But why is O'Toole not jumping out in front of this on news media? Peter says, honestly, O'Toole never gets in the media like he should. He's asleep at the switch. And Mike says, I agree. He should be all over
Why?
this.
Why are we blaming O'Toole? O'Toole's not the guy that's going. We voted O'Toole out. Okay, he doesn't have any power now. So why the reluctance to blame that son of a bitch, Justin Trudeau? Why are you so afraid to blame him? I don't understand it. You know, O'Toole has no power. You voted him out. You didn't want him as prime minister. You wanted Justin Trudeau. So you got Justin Trudeau. So if you're going to blame with the way the country is being run, don't blame the guy you voted out of power. Blame the guy you voted in. Go ahead, please.
The number here, 613-413-2217. Lowell, the Liberals have been scamming the people for a long time, and now we're stuck with their biggest scammer of their scamming history, and it will continue to happen with all the cappuccino-sipping socialists that are asleep enough to vote for Liberals or NDP. Cheryl says they have no idea what it's like to live in reality. They live in la land. Peter says fat cats, that's one name for them. Trudeau was a fat cat at birth. Trudeau has no clue about average Canadians, and most of the MPs in Ottawa don't either. Terry's on Twitch. He says Trudeau is a multi-millionaire who has never had to worry about anything. Joshua chimes in on Facebook to say that Trudeau has no real-life experience, born with a silver spoon, and never even worked his way up the political ladder to where he is now. Calgary Kathy, she says, show me a single Canadian politician today who have had to worry about paying their basic bills. Craig is in to say this trip will cost Canadians at least $20,000 per person, totaling over $5.4 million.
I don't know. As I said, I appreciate your concern. I've been trying to find out the total cost. We'll never know the total cost. We will never. I mean, they won't even tell us how many jets are involved here. 277 people. But there's something else that disturbs me. We know Trudeau. I mean, we've labeled him all sorts of labels. He's a fat cat elitist. You're right, who is not in touch with reality at all, and he doesn't have much in the way of morals either. But what about 277 people invited to go at taxpayers' expense? I have to tell you something. I'm not trying to boast here, but to me, what I did a number of years ago, I think most moral people would do. You may recall a number of years ago, I raised on my show about $280,000. We sent a group of Canadian veterans from the Battle of Ortona over to Ortona, Italy, for a Christmas Eve dinner with some of the Germans against whom they had fought. Now, there was an anonymous donation of someone who's now become a close friend who offered to pay all of the transportation, but he wanted me and Debbie to go. I said, I can't do this. Instead of me and Debbie going, let's take two more veterans. I couldn't justify it. So as I say, I'm not trying to boast, but I'm simply saying that to me, that is what people should do. And if the prime minister or anybody picked up the phone and said, hey, how'd you like a free trip at taxpayers' expense over to Rome and Italy, or Rome and Scotland, I would have to say, well, what my job be? I mean, what value would the taxpayers get? And if they said, well, no, you just go along for the ride. I'm sorry. I know I'm from the old school. I know that. I would say, no, I can't do that to the taxpayers. But obviously, we got 277 freaking bastards out there that don't have a single. There may have been 4 or 5 people necessary, security, I guess, and so forth. But the great bulk of them, very clearly, had nothing to do. They just went along for the free ride at the taxpayers' expense. To me, that's immoral. Rob's on the phone. Go ahead, Rob, please. Go ahead, please, Rob. No?
Hello, Rob.
No, we got a bad.
Hey, Rob, you hang on 1 second. Let me just try this again. Hang in there, Lowell. Rob, can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
No, okay.
No, Rob, hang on, Rob. That's my fault. Try that now.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, Rob. Thank you.
Sorry about that, gentlemen.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Rob.
I still can't really hear Lowell. I only get bits and pieces.
Okay, well let's try to Rob. Give us a call back. We apologize. And once a little bit of a
Okay.
technical glitch there. Thank you for calling.
Sorry
Um,
about that.
okay, any more texts there, John?
Lots and lots and lots. We've also got to get a word in for Shields.
Shields.
Yes, please.
You know, you're talking about morality and people who believe in doing the right thing. I think Shields is a good example. They've been in business, the same family, since 1947. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Particularly in the Ottawa Valley, where everybody knows you, everybody knows your dad, your granddad, your brothers, sisters. If you're not doing business the right way, the honest way, the moral way, you ain't going to be in business. Well, Shields has been there since 1947, and they do a big business. Very well known up and down the valley, becoming increasingly known thanks to this program. Many of you have taken advantage. They found out that what I say is true. It's a great company to deal with. They've got a huge selection, almost every kind of appliance you could possibly want in stock, and the prices, in many cases, as good or better than the big box stores. Folks, don't ship your money to the United States. Don't ship your money to China. Don't ship it to Brazil. Ship it to Pakenham. Shields.ca. more text, John, coming in, please.
Was that scripted or was that right off the cuff?
It's off the cuff.
That's amazing. Fantastic.
Actually, I don't have a cuff here, but go ahead.
Rob, I hope you'll call back. I think we've got the connection fixed. Anne says, apparently, where'd that go? Apparently, Margaret Trudeau is still taking money for an appearance from an organization that received COVID funding. No lessons learned.
No, none whatsoever. If you have no sense of morality, no sense of right and wrong, then things like that, it doesn't even register with you. The idea that taxpayers should not be billed for nothing, just for a good time trip, that obviously there's 277 people that doesn't mean anything to them. Oh, well, the taxpayers can pay this, right? Go ahead.
Rob, can you hear us now?
I can hear you, yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear Lowell.
Woohoo!
Good. Fire away, Rob.
Oh,
What do you think?
God.
What do you think?
Hey, Lowell, so I missed the last few minutes, but good topic here this morning.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever been so discouraged. I mean, this is the worst government this country has ever seen by far.
Undoubtedly.
And people just don't seem to be concerned about it. I don't get it. Most of my friends, they're more concerned about what's happening in the United States than they are in Canada. It's frustrating. I think part of the problem may very well be that our way yet. I mean, we got record debts, provincially, record debts federally, and I'm wondering if we just haven't felt the pain of these governments yet, and which we will. The day of reckoning is going to come. But
well, if you try to buy,
it's going to be too late.
You try to buy steak lately, you pay. There's a day of reckoning at the butcher shop. Let me tell you, holy mackerel! No,
There sure is.
I'm going to tell you something, Rob. We're fortunate here in Ottawa. I mean, we have a lot of people who have index pensions, etc. Many hardworking public servants, etc. I don't deny that, but we're isolated. I'm going to tell you. I have family members in London, Ontario. You go down into what we now call the Rust Belt, London, Windsor, Woodstock. You're going to find a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck. They're lining up. Money Mart is one of the fastest growing companies. This is a company that loans you money for at about 20%. The only reason that they're expanding that rapidly is that more and more people just cannot make ends meet. They got to borrow at the end of the week in order to put food on the table. We're isolated here in Ottawa. They're certainly isolated on Parliament Hill to a large degree, but there are many parts of this country where they're not isolated. You want to go out to Alberta to see people living hand to mouth out there. Thank you, Rob. Thanks for calling, sir. I have another topic here. We're running a little short of time. Talking about we poor taxpayers being taken to the cleaners. How about the screw up with our light rail? New report out. It turns out we fork over a couple of $1 billion, and in fact, more millions every month for maintenance. And we can't even get people to do their jobs properly and tighten up a few freaking bolts. Do you see that? Some loose bolts, which were supposed to have been tightened, but were not because apparently they were on some sort of, shift split or something. I don't know. But I mean, these people, And many of them probably very good, hardworking people. I'm not denying that, okay? But they're being well paid. You can be sure if you're working for the city, you've got a good income, you've got a great pension plan, you've got benefits coming out, you're yin-yang, you're doing far better than most people. That would include those people who are supposed to tighten those damn bolts. But I mean, we pay big money for, generous benefits to people to tighten a bolt, but apparently they forgot to tighten the bolt. And as a consequence, we've had no light rail, for which we've paid $2 billion already, for what, 50 days now? I mean, let me ask you. Might be a rhetorical question. Yeah, it is a rhetorical question. How much more of this are you prepared to pay for? 277 bodies ferried off to a nice little junket to Rome and Scotland, and you got to pay for it. $1 billion a month very soon in interest payments on the debt that you got to pay for. And we still have governments spending money like it's like a drunken sailor. I nothing against drunken sailors. I've known many in my life. And I really never saw them spending that much money. But that's the phrase. You understand. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, here we are, as I say, almost $1.5 trillion in debt, running another, 400 billion in debt every year. And he flies 277 people off to Rome. And I mean, and we're paying these people all kinds of money to tighten up some bolts, and they can't even tighten bolts. But in the end, it's you and me that get it. We're the ones who get it up the yin-yang. When the bus doesn't run, we're the ones who've got to walk. We got to ones stand out in the rain. When the train doesn't go, we're the ones, we're the ones. And we got to pay for it. We don't get the service, and we got to pay for it anyway. Sacre bleu black, the bing bong bats. John, any more texts to you?
Absolutely. Cheryl says, Lowell, what do you suggest we do?
Well, I suggest that we simply, give up our jobs and go on welfare. Let the government, if the government wants to look after everybody, let them do it. I'm just joking, of course. But if it doesn't stop, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get myself a stone axe and I'm going to head for the hills. Go ahead, John.
I'm just looking for Craig's comment here. He had a great comment. He says, CN had a derailment just outside Prescott a few weeks ago. It's back up and running 2 days later. What the hell is going on with LRT and the city council? Joshua says, Canada's in great shape. Not like that money could be used for healthcare, education, the homeless, etc. Todd says, Trudeau's nothing but a word I will not even say on internet radio, but there it is on your screen. Mike says, and now they want to raise the fares to be the highest in the province. Chrissy was saying the same thing over on Twitch a minute ago. Melanie says, I find the whole, sorry, it's scrolling up as I talk. I find the whole didn't tighten bolts thing to be unbelievable, more like scapegoats. They were so quick to find blame, and it's the new low-ranking staff.
I have one more comment. I think that Craig's got a good point. They repaired the track up in Prescott in a few days, and that's generally what it takes. Even a major collision down along the seaway, it's generally back up and running in about 3 days, 2 or 3 days. Why did it take 50 days to discover they didn't tighten bolts? So it's not only the fact that they didn't tighten the bolts, it's that the fact that there's obviously so much bloody red tape. So much, I don't know what it is. 50 days to find out they forgot to tighten some bolts. 50 days. Is it a wonder? It's a wonder anything works in this country. I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't for the average working stiff, the electrician and the plumber and the carpenter and the guy cleaning out the sewers, if it wasn't for them, this country, I mean, if it was left up to Ottawa, nothing would work. All right, John, time maybe for a couple more texts here.
Tell you what, we got a ton of leftovers, Lowell. I will package these up and get them to you in an email, so that way
Wonderful.
Everybody's assured that their comments are heard. So thank you for that. Yep. Yeah, and thanks for sharing on your social media too.
Thank you all. We'll be back. We'll be back Monday.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green Podcast. This is a production of BlastTheRadio.com.